Penny, Hardaway's Tigers took another quadrant 3 loss this weekend at Wichita State. That's 3 on the season, Bennett. Final score, Wichita State 84, Memphis 79 in overtime. Our nightmare is becoming a reality. Not like last season. They haven't collapsed so much that they're going to miss the NCAA tournament, I don't think. But they are doing real damage to their resume with 3 quadrant 3 losses, because just to provide some context so you understand how unusual that is for a quote-unquote good team. There is not a single team in the top 25 of the net as of this morning with even 1 quadrant 3 loss. Auburn has 0. Ole Miss has 0. Alabama has 0. All the teams in the top 25 of the net combined have 0. Memphis has 3. Nobody else in the top 50 of the net has more than 2. And Villanova is the only team in the top 55 of the net besides Memphis that has 3 losses outside of the first 2 quadrants. Villanova has 2 quadrant 3s and then 1 in quadrant 4. So you ready for this? The only 2 teams in the top 55 of the net right now that have at least 3 losses outside of the first 2 quadrants are Memphis and Villanova. And Villanova's about to fire its coach. That's where we're at.
Oh, boy. Okay, so first and foremost, just that everything about that sucked because it was like an awesome college basketball weekend. And I watched so much college hoops and was fired up for the game yesterday. And just, I think that the thing that sucks the most is a road overtime loss to Wichita State. Just when you say it like that, that should not wreck your seeding if you're a good team if you're one of the better teams in the country, which I think we agree Memphis is one of the better teams. They've been in the top 25 consistently for most of this season. But that is currently their life in the AAC because they lose this game. Again, it's a road loss in overtime at Wichita State. That's a proud college basketball school. I know they haven't been great lately. You just have nowhere to make it up. You can't get it back. The next week for most of these good teams, you're playing a top 30, 40, 50 team in the country to be able to make this up. Memphis just doesn't have that opportunity. That's why this one hurts so much more than it really should, The
highest ranked team in the net with 3 losses outside of the first 2 quadrants is Memphis. And the next highest ranked team with 3 losses outside of the first 2 quadrants in the net is Villanova. And Villanova is less than a month away from firing its coach. That's what we're dealing with right now. You're exactly right. It's the problem with playing in this league that all you get are games like this. And when you mess up, you don't have a way to undo it. Like if you're in the Big 12 and let's say you lose a bad game to a bad Big 12 team. Let's say you lose a home game to Colorado. All right. You probably got a game against Texas Tech coming up or against Houston coming up or against Arizona coming up. And it's like, okay, we took a bad loss here, but we got 3 big games coming up. If we take care of that, we can cancel this out. When you're Memphis, there is no place to cancel anything out. And that is the biggest reason why they're going to be punished by the selection committee. Also, the predictive metrics, their computer numbers in the predictive metrics are not good. That's another reason they're going to get dinged by the selection committee. But the biggest issue is going to be they're taking too many bad losses without having the opportunities to make up for them. I was in studio all day Saturday with Jerry Palm. We had our bracket preview show on CBS. So they're in one studio doing that. We're in the other studio doing that. But we're all sort of mingling. And I'm talking to Jerry Palm, and I said, Jerry, and I know the answer, but I just wanted to get it from his mouth so that I could tell it to you. Hey, Jerry, Memphis is in the top 15 of the AP poll. Memphis has a strength of record that is top 15 in the country. But the bracket preview show was just on CBS, and the selection committee told us Memphis isn't even in the top 16. And then they added 2 other schools when talking about schools that are close, the implication being that Memphis isn't even in the top 18. So you can look at the AP poll and be like, Memphis is in the top 15. But according to the selection committee, as of Saturday morning, they're not even in the top 18. Jerry, why? You know what he said? Well, it's the quadrant 3 losses. Other teams that are competing for 1 seeds or 2 seeds or 3 seeds or 4 seeds, they don't have quadrant 3 losses. And Memphis has multiple quadrant 3 losses. You ready for this? This conversation was on Saturday. Then Memphis added another quadrant 3 on Sunday and does further damage to its resume. As we speak, the AP poll I do not believe has published yet. It should be coming out within the hour or roughly about an hour. And I don't know that Memphis will be out of it, but they could. I have Memphis 25th in the top 25 and 1 right now. And if you want me to justify it, I can. And it will start with the strength of the wins. They have 5 quadrant 1 victories and some big wins in there. A victory over Missouri, a victory over Michigan State. They've got some good wins. But if you wanted to leave Memphis out of your ballot today, remember when I used to write that Politex column and I would make fun of AP voters? If AP voters wanted to leave Memphis off their ballot today, I wouldn't be able to make fun of them for it. There's a lot of data to support leaving Memphis out of the top 25. And it's just, I don't want to do a whole conference realignment segment once a week for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I got it.
But this is a byproduct of what we've been talking about. Memphis is a good basketball team. But Memphis is not so good that it can just play this schedule in this league and never expect to slip up at all. This is where I think people get it a little twisted up, even among Memphis fans, when they're looking at what's happening right now and contrasting it with John Calipari in Conference USA once John got it going in 2006 and Louisville, Cincinnati, and all those big programs got out of the league. At that point, John found himself coaching in a very similar league to what this current version of AAC is. That version of CSA was not that different than this version of the AAC. So over the weekend, as Penny takes a third quadrant 3 loss, I see some people pointing out, well, you know, every time somebody argues, well, this is the problem with being in the American, there's too many landmines and there's no buried treasures. There's just landmines. You ain't never going to find a pot of gold. You're just going to step on something that blows you up. As people are making that point, I've heard some others counter with, well, hey, this wasn't a problem for John Calipari. You can say that this league is holding Penny Hardaway and the Tigers back, but John Calipari was getting 1 seeds out of CUSA. Well, yeah, by going undefeated, literally undefeated for years at a time in CUSA. So then I guess the counterpoint would be, well, then that's what Penny should do. And I guess I would just tell you
that just doesn't happen anymore.
It's just not. I'm not here to defend Penny Hardaway. I have been both his biggest praiser and at other times biggest critic. I've just tried to tell the truth about him whenever I'm asked. Sometimes the truth is good and sometimes the truth isn't. But I'm not conditioned to just defend Penny Hardaway blindly. So that's not what I'm doing right now. But what I'm telling you is that it is unfair to hold him to that standard. Hey, Penny, you got to go play an entire conference schedule and you can't lose a game or else you're sucking, because that's not real life. I know John Calipari could do it, but that's John Calipari, Hall of Fame basketball coach. Oh, by the way, at different parts in his program, Derrick Rose, Tyreek Evans, Darius Washington, Rodney Carney, Anthony Rice, Sean Williams, Robert Dozier, Antonio Anderson, Joey Dorsey, Chris Douglas Robert. Like the best John Calipari team had the #1 pick in the draft, plus a different person who was a first-team All-American, plus at least 2 more people who were future NBA draft picks. Tyrese Hunter's good. He ain't that. Tyrese Hunter's good. He ain't Derrick Rose. PJ Haggerty's good. He's not Chris Douglas Roberts. So, yeah, when you have Chris Douglas Roberts and Derrick Rose and Joey Dorsey and Antonio Anderson and Robert Dozier, you can play a schedule like this and never lose because you're 25 points better than everybody else.
Right.
These Tigers are good, but they're not 25 points better than everybody else, especially on the road. So you're going to slip up and you're going to lose some, and it just kills you. It's why you've got to get out of this league one way or another eventually, because this is what life in this league is like, and it's not going to be fun for you ever. You don't want to know why? Because you ain't ever having Derrick Rose and Chris Douglas Roberts in your backcourt again. All right? That ain't the way this is ever going to work again. Yeah, when you have Derrick Rose and Chris Douglas Roberts as your starting guards, play any mid-major schedule, and you'll probably roll right through it. You don't have that now. You've got good college basketball players, not that. So here's the issue. Do you know right now Memphis has played 13 AAC games? This is the problem with the league. They played 13 AAC games, and 11 of them are quadrant 3 or quadrant 4. 11 of the 13. It is nothing but landmines. Think about it this way. In the SEC, the only things that do not fall in quadrant 1 or quadrant 2 for you as a basketball team are home games against LSU and South Carolina. That's it. Every other game you can possibly play in the SEC is quadrant 1 or quadrant 2. So you might take losses, but you ready? You're never taking bad losses. And your wins are always great wins. In the AAC, you take nothing but bad losses, and your wins don't matter. That's not fun.
No.
Think of it as a video game, and I've told you, Bennett, here's a video game, whatever video game you want it to be. Let's call it Fortnite. I don't even know how Fortnite works other than I watch my kids sometimes. But let's just call it Fortnite. Hey, Bennett, I want you to play Fortnite. Okay, GP, what's the deal? Well, there's nothing good that can happen. You're just going to run around for the next 2 months in this Fortnite world. Nothing good can happen for you. But you can get killed over and over again. Well, that's not a fun game to play. You're telling me nothing good can happen, only bad things. That's right. So if I live through the day, then you just live through the day. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
And if I get blown up, well, then you're dead. That's life in the AAC. You're playing for months at a time, and nothing good can come of it. When you win a game, we go, well, of course they won. They should have. It's a bad team. Congrats on your quad 3 win. Congrats on your quad 4 win. But when you slip up and lose one, because you're going to, even Steph Curry misses a free throw every once in a while, well, then it's a quad 3 loss. Now you got 3. Now you're sliding. I'm not saying there's an easy solution to it, right? I know if Ed Scott were sitting here, he'd say, GP, what do you want me to do? We ain't got that kind of money, or the travel's too bad, or the ACC doesn't want us yet. I got it. I'm just saying that should be priority number one. Priority number one, because you can continue to build your football program and basketball program as big as you can build them. But as long as you're building them in this neighborhood, you will always just have a nice house in a bad neighborhood. You'll always just have the best you can do right now is just have a nice house in a bad neighborhood. Your neighbors ain't taking care of their yards. Your neighbors ain't painting the house. They ain't cutting the grass. They ain't weed eating. They're not investing like you are. You can have a nice house, but it's going to be in a terrible neighborhood, and it's not fun driving around the neighborhood. Right now, Memphis is just driving around the neighborhood, looking at beat-up houses and overgrown grass. And I know that there's a Wichita State fan out there or a Temple fan out there saying, well, if they're so good, why do they ever lose? Because sometimes even Steph Curry is going to miss a free throw. Even Memphis, better than everybody else in the AC, is going to slip up and lose games.
Yep.
And you got nowhere to make it good. It's just bad stuff on top of bad stuff. Priority number one has got to be to figure out how to get to a better league. I know it's not an easy solution, but that is where the energy needs to be, because we are either learning or remembering in real time what life is like in these leagues. You won 11 games as a football program and couldn't draw people to your football stadium. You've been ranked in your men's basketball program all season. You're not drawing big crowds, and now you're damaging your resume, where if you're still ranked today, you're one more of these losses away from being unranked. You ready for this? Even if Memphis is still in the AP poll today, you can't lose again. I don't care how many games you win. You lose again, you're out. You lose again, you're out. That's the life you live, and it's not fun. Hopefully they can figure it out, get into a better league like some of our old friends from the AAC have done over recent years.
The Gary Parrish Show, live weekdays at 10 a.m.